Hey Greg, how's it going? I've been making some short videos for people just to talk through a few things that kind of have been somewhat persistent problems. Just go over programming and a few things like that. So I wanted to touch base on your squat, particularly the stance, and then your grip width for your press. So we will start with the squat. This was a set that you did with 95, one of your back off sets that you did before your vacation. And then I want to talk about your stance width and then the bottom position here. So we're playing this guy at 50% speed, so it's going to look a little bit slow, and we're going to cut this off right at the bottom, and then this is your turnaround point right here. So essentially what I want you to notice, if we look at that little magnified box on the top left, is how your toes are on the ground, but your heels are coming off the ground. And the same thing is happening on your right foot. Now the chest position, where your hips are and everything is really good. I'm a huge fan of the squat that you've been doing so far, but particularly I just want to address this stance with, I need this to be maybe about 5 or 6 inches wider. And then what I'm looking for is for this point, the top of your knee to be below the crease of your hip. So essentially, I'm looking for that line right here. If you kind of see this little black part of your shorts right there, I need that to be below your knee. That's going to denote full depth for me. That's when your hamstrings are going to be fully stretched, when your glutes and your back are going to be fully stretched. As of right now, we're just kind of cutting it off a little bit early because all of the mass on the back of your legs, so your hamstring and then your gastrocs, your calf muscles back here, are just running into each other. And then that's what the limiting factor on your depth is. So what I need you to do is to widen your stance out maybe 5 or 6 inches, and then just trust your hips. Start with a really lightweight, maybe a little more conservative on your warm-ups, or do more and more warm-ups until you feel comfortable with the stance. But I need that to be a little bit wider. I need the hips to be more open. This is going to help a lot in long-term strength development. It's going to let us put a lot more weight on the bar. But as for your upper back position, for your hand position and everything, I hope the rack position is feeling more comfortable. It's been looking great. I've had really no complaints about the progress we've been having on the squat, especially since it was essentially just painful whenever we started. So I'm going to open up a video of your pressing real quick. I just want to talk about your grip width. So congratulations on the 135 press. I don't know if you know how big of an accomplishment that is, but most guys, it's kind of a forgotten exercise. Most guys really only bench. Nobody's really pressing anymore. But 135, especially for three, it's a really big accomplishment. So what you're doing right now with your press grip is that you were kind of stacking your elbows and pulling them into your rib cage. That's good, but you're leaving your hands really far outside of your arms. I'm looking for your forearms to be vertical, so your grip is maybe about like 2-3 fingers too wide. I know this may feel slightly more comfortable in the short term, but again, in the long term, it's pretty similar to the squat stance width. This will be a lot more productive for long-term strength development. What I'm looking for is for your hands to move in so that your middle finger is approximately about that line. It's going to feel like your forearm is going to be stacked on your bicep and stacked on your upper arm, but again, this is what we want. It's going to help us press a lot more weight and get that shoulder a lot stronger. I have a nagging suspicion that this extra torque on the elbow may be causing some of your elbow discomfort and may be causing a few things. However, I just need this to move in, and then the rest of the problem should solve itself. I wanted to look at rep 3 real quick with you. And you've been doing something, I'm sure if you're realizing that you're doing it, but it's actually been super helpful for you. You're giving yourself a little bit of a bounce. So we'll slow it down. It's really small. It's kind of hard to tell from this angle, but I just want to look at your knees, your hips, and then your shoulders. You're bouncing the bar down and then bouncing the bar back up. Boom, right there. Okay, so we'll go through that one more time. Pulling it down, pressing it up. This is super helpful, and you can do this on every single rep. So you don't necessarily need to focus on strict pressing it. The work done by your shoulders is really going to be the same exact amount. Same thing with your triceps and everything like that, so don't worry about it. But if you want to get a little bit of a bounce in there, but kind of rocking your hips forward, laying back a little bit, totally am a big fan of that. I have absolutely no problems with that. So move on to your programming real quick. So today, I just want you to work up to 3x5 for your squats. I want the first 2 sets to be relatively light. I want them to be about RPE 7, and I want the last set to be around RPE 9 with that single set of 5. Now, I need these to be with our new stance width, so make sure to take some time on the warm-ups to adjust your stance, and then hopefully these will be with that wider stance width. If you feel like you're not able to trust your hips and you want a box there just for security's sake, go for it. But just call that audible as you need it. For your bench press, I've been more than happy with your progress on your bench. I will be able to get you to 225, get 2 plates on there, and a lot more mass on your upper body. Definitely within the next 2 months, progress on that has been flying. And then for your deadlifts, I want to keep these guys around between 205 and 225. The 235 that you did, what was that? On Wednesday, that was a little bit slower than I would like. So let's keep these really fast. And I just want to focus on pausing a bit at the top. It doesn't have to be like a full 1 or 2 count pause. Essentially, just let the bar stop and not have any upwards or downwards momentum before you turn it around. And remember, we're going to keep our brace the entire time that the bar is moving. I'll send you a screenshot of this as well. And then a few things that I wanted to show you for the squat. Okay, I just want you to note how kind of open these people's hips are. So their stance is actually relatively wide as compared to their hip. They're shoving their chest through, they're still looking down, and their knees are out. This is kind of the landmark of what I'm looking for. And again, you see that hip crease right there. So those kind of wrinkles in her shorts, or wrinkles in her leggings, excuse me, are below the point of the knee. And then the same thing with him. You can kind of see that divide where his shirt color changes in between the short and then his knee. This is what I'm looking for in the squat. And we see how the knee isn't actually running into itself. The toes are a bit more back, and we're trusting our hips a lot more. This will let you move a lot more weight over time. So that's more than good there. And then as for your press, what I wanted to talk about was kind of that bounce that you had, so that little bit of layback. On most of your reps, you start them kind of with a pretty vertical body position, and then you just kind of press straight up. It's more than fine to lay back a little bit to clear past your head, and then, continue to stand up and press. If you have any questions about anything, please definitely feel free to let me know. I've been really happy with the progress. Hopefully you have been too. Let me know how things have been feeling at BJJ and your other athletic activities. I know that we've had to pull back on cardio a little bit, but I definitely feel like that's going to be better for you in the long term, so we can get some more muscle mass on you. We can get your hip measurement down, get some more muscle mass on, get some more fat off, and just get you really strong, and then eventually we can kind of filter in more cardio. If you have anything you would like to change, anything that's been bugging you, definitely let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk those things out. All right, see you later.